Hello, my cute love bugs, my sweet love bugs, and welcome back to an episode of Chat with a Homie. I am your homie, Ari, your hostess with the mostest, and this is our cozy neurodivergent space of the internet where we can get real about a lot of things that maybe it's uncomfortable to talk about. And y'all, I'm in the newborn trenches, which is cool and all. Honestly, my baby has been super chill. The hardest part has been the adjustment with my other kids. My eldest daughter loves the baby, but also just working on boundaries. And as a very neurodiverse mom, I'm realizing, and especially I feel like in this season of life, a lot more than I realized before. I feel like in the beginning of my journey, I really just needed to get a hallmark on like, what is healthy? Like, what do I feel? And honestly work on just loving myself and wanting to be here on earth and present, which I know sounds kind of like, what? No, that's crazy. That's inappropriate. Don't talk about that's dark. But that was my reality. I really hated myself, so there's no way that I could love my kids. So that was like step one, was like even learning how to feel my own emotions, because as long as I didn't allow myself to feel my emotions, there's gonna be no way that I was gonna be able to allow my kids to have their own set of emotions and be their own people, because that was very triggering for me. It was not something that I had access to, so I couldn't support my kids in having access to that for themselves, if that makes sense. But if you're here, I'm sure that makes sense, and that's why you're here. That's just why I make this type of content, because I needed it and it wasn't there. And one of the things that's coming up now, I'm a lot further in my journey. I've gone to parenting classes, therapy. I'm still in therapy currently every week. I just love it. It's great. It's healthy. It helps me. I have my kiddo, my eldest, in therapy. I'm working on getting my youngest into therapy, and just making sure that we all have a way to express those hard feelings and emotions, because I know that, especially as a very neurodivergent mom, and I know I say that a lot, but that's really just that's a cup of tea that I've been dealt this lifetime. And it doesn't mean that I'm subjecting myself to it. I'm like, oh my God, I'm just a victim of this and I did it. No, that's not the case. I think that the biggest thing for me is to take accountability for what's happening in my life, so that way I can show up in a way that's kind and honest and healthy for me and for my kids and for those around me. So back to, the steps and then also this season, right? So all that now, and I have a new bundle of joy, which is cool and I love it, was something that was really hard for me to come into reality with life last time. I mean, this past, because I just replayed a lot of my past, being able to do this again. I'm like, Spirit, are you sure? Because I don't know. And for me, that's a whole nother conversation for another day, which I will be so excited, especially when this is more formalized, or not more formalized, but where I'm in the flow of doing this, where I will share that story, as it's very like, there's been a lot that's happened there, and that might even be like moving to a new platform, Patreon type vibe and content, because it can get really ucky and gucky and just very personal. So anyway, here we are. So I'm in the season now where I am figuring out what boundaries look like for me. And I think that that's what I was saying before. Boundaries in terms of like what I need is like really important, because, and I know it sounds like, oh my God, but like you need to focus on what your kids need. Like you need to put the life mask on yourself before you can your kids. And I think that's one of the biggest keys that I had to realize, was like, as long as I don't honor the fact that I don't have the capacity for certain things, or that I'm not going to function like Hoshmo, Bobby Sue, Calico, all these random people on the internet, or all these random people in the world. We all have different ways of parenting. And for me, I'm going to do it in whatever way honors me and my kids, and honors their health, growth, and development, while also honoring my process as well. And everybody's process is different. So for me, I'm realizing that, oh my God, I don't like being touched too much. Like, I am autistic, I have ADHD, I have like a lot of other fun things going on in my brain. And so I realized that how I have to parent is different, and like also feeling super supported is essential. And it's so funny, because I went from this like stage of being super authoritative with my kids, and like also authoritative and like trying to control their energy, because I needed to control my own. And they were very much, I mean, kids, you cannot control them. They are very much like, they're gonna do what the fuck, they're gonna be kids. Okay, you can support, you can guide them, you can lead them the right way, but they're going to make their own choices, their own decisions, because they're humans just like us, right? And so one thing that I really had a hard time with, though, in that understanding, was like, whoa, I can't be like this. And that's when I went to parenting class. And then I went from being you know, there. And then we were in the shelter, and I became very permissive because I was like, oh my God, like, I mean, I was still like, you know, we got to get things moving because it's only me, honestly. And then I lost it was too many things happening, y'all. When I tell you that story, like, this journey has been a journey, we're going to talk about it. Okay. But I became more permissive, and I kind of was in that state of, like, you know, reckoning. I had that conversation with my kids, and they're like, yeah, you were really scary, and living with you was really like, I didn't fuck with it. And I'm like, that's valid. I was terrifying. And terrifying in the sense of, like, I did not have emotional regulation skills. I'm gonna be honest, because I wish somebody was honest about their story on that front too. I did not have the capacity. I honestly didn't want to be around them. It was really hard for me to be around them. So I would try to take them out sometimes, but then they would, you know, it was just really overstimulating for me. It was too much for my brain to comprehend, and try to hold the space in ways that I just did not have the capacity in that season because I didn't have the tools yet. So I went very permissive because then I was like, oh my God, like, I was a shit mom. I was so bad. And that conversation had been open. They were telling me how they felt. And I started, you know, getting the help and the resources that they needed, getting help and resources that I needed. And it was just like, you know, a dialogue. But I became very permissive on the other side of things. And then my kids started to kind of act like they could talk to me any type of way. And I realized I was like, now I'm in a season where we're finding our middle ground. And I'm doing a lot of work on myself, and I'm examining my boundaries. I teach my kids to have their own boundaries, and I learn to honor them as they learn to honor mine. And so it's been a space where it's like, whoa, what the fudge nuts? And, you know, I'm just realizing that I need different things, which I've been realizing that for a minute now. I've been in a healthy space, but I like to share that with people because I think sometimes we get into, like, this parenting journey and we're like, oh my God, things need to look like this in order for me to be a good mother, and content is telling us, oh, well, this is how you have to be by societal standards, which is, like, so unrealistic, especially for a lot of people. You know, we see a lot of people dealing shame, and sometimes I see those messy mom TikToks, and I'm like, in a certain world, I mean, yeah, some of them are super outrageous, but the ones where they're just, like, messy, like, it's just messy. They don't have food laying around, like, they're just messy. They just have some dishes in the sink. They have they have clothes and laundry to do, you know, like, that's basic mom shit. Like, I think we need to stop shaming each other for that shit. And especially if you're neurodiverse and your brain already is like, sweetheart, that's not how I vibe. Like, that's okay. And you're trying to maneuver yourself and to fit into this cookie cutter type reality, and you're shaming yourself because other people are like, well, I would never do that. And like, well, you don't have fucking kids, or you don't have this, or your story is different than my story. Even if you did have everything going on, how we handle it and what we have accessible and the tools that we have accessible, and our realities are completely different. So, like, several seats. And so for a minute, I found myself being like, oh my God, I need to be this kind of mom. And I started to nitpick myself and found myself, like, kind of spiraling back into, like, I have to be, you know, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to be everything for my kids. And sometimes, like, literally, I will go to the park and people will see me and they're like, wow, you're super mom. And I'm like, no, I'm just trying to hold my shit together, to be honest. And I think that even when, like, we're giving each other compliments, like, I don't want to be super mom. I want to be a good ass mom. That's all I'm trying to do. I don't want to be like, I have to hold everything together. Like, I want to learn how to lean on community. You know, I want to learn to say no sometimes and not feel guilty. And that's the season I'm in, especially with my kids, where I'm like, no, and I don't feel bad about it. No. And that, like, and my youngest, you know, she's had a lot of change going on. Not my youngest anymore, my middle child now. She's had a lot of changes and shifts go on, and you will never see my kids on the internet. And sorry, like, I've deleted even my, like, Facebook, my Instagram, like, that shit's just gone. They're not on my TikTok. At least I don't think so. No. Just because, yeah, I just don't want them to be on the internet. I think it's weird. For me. Anyway, we're coming back. Long story short, I'm chatting about that. They're great. So she's been having, you know, time. A new baby in the house. She's no longer a child. There's different types of rules. I have to say no a lot more, especially because she doesn't understand, like, hey, you can't just come from school, not wash your hands, and touch your baby brother. Like, he's fresh out the crotch. Okay? It's not gonna work. So no. Love you, Pookie, but no. And so that's the vibe. Sometimes it's like, no. And she'll get an attitude, and she's like, And this past weekend, she said to me, and y'all, out of her mouth, she said this. She said, Mom, you have too many kids. You need to put one of us up for adoption. And if you knew my kid, like, you might actually laugh because she's really bold and funny. Like, but like, I understood that sentiment, and I was like, well, what can I do to show up for you better? And then she told me, and I made room for that. Boom, At the same time, I also had to explain to her, like, hey, this is a different season for all of us. We have a new addition. Mommy's trying to figure all this out. So, how we used to go to the farmer's market every single Saturday and do like things like that? Well, we might only do that sometimes, or when I have the capacity. And if you're waking me up constantly, even if I've made sure that your needs are met, and I'm saying, hey, me and Josiah are taking a little baby nap. She's sick, so she'll like watch something for 30 minutes, and I'm like, just let me rest my eyes for 30 minutes, and we can go out and we can do things. Do you want to rest your eyes? And sometimes she'll be like, yeah, I'll go take a nap too. But like, she'll just watch her show and her programming, and she'll vibe out. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, all right, bet, like, cool. But it's like, sometimes she just does not give a fudge, and she will just keep pressing, or she'll be like, that's really rare, but like, she sometimes, especially, she'll be like, can we go here, can we go here, can we go here, can we go here, can we go there, can we go there? And I'm like, no, I don't have the capacity for that. Like, even if I'm not napping, which is like, again, very rare, because I nap when my kids are in school, and when they're here on the weekends, baby, I'm on 24/7, and it's exhausting, which is why I'm like, if I rest my eyes, there's rules. And my house is like super, like, listen, it's very neurodivergent, trust me, okay? At the same time, there's not much like she can get into. She knows like rules. We have rules and boundaries, and she's here, so it's just like, it's really hard though. Because I'm like, sweetheart, we can't just, and I can't just take you to Ho Schmo's and Bobby Sue's, and those people also have boundaries, and those people have jobs, and they have things to do. And so she got really frustrated, and she was like, you should put one of us up for adoption. Like, you have too many kids. And I'm like, well, at the end of the day, things are shifting and changing, but that's not going to happen. I love all of you guys. And because I'm, my capacity's changing this season doesn't mean I love you any less. It just means how I show up is going to look different. And you're welcome. Just like you're telling me now that you feel these ways. I love that you feel safe enough to tell me that. Please always do. I want to show up for you. And that doesn't stop the fact that sometimes I feel frustrated and tired, and having to explain that constantly, or having to deal with her putting her hands near his mouth. And I'm like, I feel like sometimes she just does it because like, she's one of those kids. She's just a kid. Anyway, she's just a kid, but she's just going to do what the fuck she wants to do. She's going to just do it. She doesn't care. Okay. She doesn't give a crap. Okay. And I hate that I'm swearing in this. I might need to remake this. Meet my boob. Oh, but I wish I could go back and edit and like be like, beep, beep. So like, but I don't know about all the demonetization with the words in the language. I want this information to be accessible, and be promoted so that people can know, like, they're not alone. Like, you don't need to be like, oh my God, I need to be like Sally Sue and Poppy Coo, because it's inaccessible, and you're allowed to have your own process. And sometimes making room for our kids' experiences and processes is hard. And I had to really sit with the fact that, like, wow, my kid might really think that I'm a shit mom in this season of life because she doesn't feel like she's getting what she needs. And I'm listening to what she's saying, and I'm meeting her to the best of my abilities, but I might fall short in this season. Like, she might look back, especially as a 6-year-old, with less comprehension as to what's going on around her in this space, even when if I explain to her in layman's terms. Like, I'm a Gemini, so listen, one thing I'm going to do is probably over-explain something, okay? So she's going to feel her feelings. And, like, it's not for you to try to manipulate that her feelings are not there or try to make them disappear. Sometimes it's okay to be bored. And I keep trying to have that conversation with her. I mean, this conversation that we were having even when I was pregnant, because I had gotten a car accident. So my ability to just be on the go, taking them to Massachusetts, we live in the area. It's like Massachusetts is like an hour or something away, or an hour plus away, right? So it's not too far, but it's like, it's far enough where I'm tired, I don't have the capacity to drive an hour away. We can go to Nana and Pop Pops, we can go to the mall, we can do things that are fun in different ways, we can have indoor adventures, we can play with your toys here together. Just finding ways to meet her where she's at, but also making room for the fact that I need to meet my own needs where I'm at differently in this season. And as a Cancer Moon and Venus, I want to make sure people are nurtured to a T. And sometimes that's just really hard to do. And I can't be a people pleaser. I think that's one of the things too, like having to heal from people pleasing means that that shows up even in my connection with my kids, and making sure that I'm showing up in a way that doesn't just honor their needs and making sure that they're being fed, but making sure that I'm being fed. Because if I ignore my boundaries and my needs and what my heart is like, hey, baby girl, hey, Pookie, you need this, you need that. If I just ignore that because I'm like, hey, I gotta do this, my kid wants to hug me, but I know that it's gonna overstimulate me and I'm gonna probably have a shutdown later. Like, no, I'd rather just be like, hey, can you please ask me before you hug me? Because sometimes mommy gets overstimulated. My kid doesn't know what overstimulation means. That's fine. Sometimes my brain goes like this, and it feels really scary. So it's not you. It's just that mommy's brain, it needs a break. And being touched makes mommy's brain feels like right now, but can I give you a hug later? You know what I'm saying? Like, literally things like that. I will legit say those things to my kids. And sometimes she receives it well, and sometimes she's really upset. You know what I'm saying? And there's not much I can do about that. My boundary is my boundary, and she's allowed to feel what she's gonna feel about it. You know, my kids, both of them. You know, even my eldest. You know, she's 9, and I'm like, hey, at the end of the day, sweetheart, like, I love you, but I don't have the capacity to do this right now. Or she's like, I want to tell you this, that, and the third. And I'm like trying to do something with her brother, and her brother's like whining and crying. And I can't focus on all those things. That's too much stimuli for me. So I'm like, hey, can you give me a moment? And then, you know, this is why her sister's in therapy too, because like, it's great. But learning how to process her own feelings and emotions that are big, that are popping up, because I don't want my kids to feel unseen. And you might be wondering, like, oh my God, like, you know, my circumstances, like, can't get my kids therapy because I don't have insurance. And for me, you know, look up on Pinterest is what I did before I was getting them into therapy. Look up feeling charts, feeling zones. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of tools and resources on the internet. I also have like Medicaid managed care right now. So it's really been a blessing because, yes, I mean, the supports and what you would have access to can look different, but I'm super grateful because I can get my kids help if they need to. You know, right now I'm getting my kids support through school. And that might sound like, oh my God, that's that's a no, that's a scary thing. I hear like something, I'm sorry, in the background, and it's like, it's the joys of living in an apartment, y'all, okay? I live in subsidized housing, so that's a blessing. Comes with a lot of noises and being in the city, which is cool. I'm just grateful to be able to house my children in a way that's safe and all the great things. But yeah, use the resources that are accessible to you. It doesn't need to look like all these fancy things. You know how I looked into getting parenting classes? I legit looked that shit up, and it was free. Free 99. Free 99. There are resources. As a family advocate, just last year. Last year. Oh my God. Last year. Holy crap. Just around this time, I quit being a family advocate because it wasn't really helping people. And we had free 99, just free. Okay. Classes that we taught for parenting, for parents. It was a parenting class. And I mean, it was not accessible because due to the time, and that's what I faced too. I was like, I wasn't working, so it was accessible for me. But like, if you are working, that can be something that's a barrier. And so that's why I left that job. And we can talk about that another time, but I left because it wasn't meeting the needs. It was like offering services to the community, but not making it accessible for the community. And a lot of parents, especially if they're single, parent households, which is a lot of what we served, especially being a mom myself, and just coming out of being homeless, I was like, I gotta go. Y'all are not helping these babies, and I'm bringing it to the higher ups, and y'all are still watching these families fail and then judging them and kicking them out of the Head Start program when they're not meeting your standards, but yet you're not making those services accessible. Anyway, I could go about that all day long, okay? So Pookie's gonna go ahead and do what she needs to do so I can have even more credentials to help the community and serve in a way that's gonna be honorable. But for now, like, this is just enough. Like, again, also too, maybe you feel called to show up in this way and you wanna maybe start a parenting group, or you wanna just meet with some moms that might feel how you feel. Like, what you have to give in this season of life is enough. And what you have to give in this season is enough for your kids. Your kids are super resilient, and just choose to do the work. You know, sometimes that looks like just moving. I legit had to speak affirmations into myself and be like, okay, well, this therapist is going to be great. And honestly, the therapist was great, but I had to believe it. I just see myself sitting in a therapy session that was going to benefit and honor me. I started to speak life into myself. I would look in the mirror and start being like, I'm a nurturing, kind mom. I'm a this, I'm a that. And we're going to make videos about that coming soon, which we can do a lot of cool if you're into it. If you're into it, I'm not here to force you. Some mirror work together. Okay? That's helped me a lot. It's healing a lot of how I connect to my inner child and healing healing my parent wounds, and my child wounds, and really looking to myself and being like, hey, you are this, and this is something that you have access to. It might be hard to see that right now, but sweetheart, that's already here. It lives within you. You're just tapping into it. That's what you're learning to do, and that's happening right now. You even just having a desire to learn more and to create room and space for you to grow and learn, it's amazing. So I'm not gonna make this video too long. It's like going on, oh god, it is past 20 minutes. I'm sorry. When I keep looking over here too, because remember, it's like, look at the green light, look over here, look at the green light, look over here. So if you see me do that, again, I'm ADHD brain, okay, friends? Anyway, all that being said, take care of yourself, and please do the things that you know are going to be honorable towards you. You do not need to be perfect. You know, your kids are going to have their own experiences, and we're not here to control their experiences. We're here to go ahead and just guide them and show up for them and support them the best way that we know how. And sometimes we might fall short, but at the same time, sweetheart, no one's perfect, and your kids are going to learn that. You know what I'm saying? They're going to learn that for themselves, and you're not there to control or dictate how they perceive their reality. But as you honor your boundaries and you do the work for yourself, it's going to trickle down into your kids. Your kids are going to start to learn how to express their feelings. They're going to be like, hey, actually, no, I feel annoyed, or actually, I feel this. You know, they're going to be able to put words to things because you're learning how to do that. And that was one of the biggest lessons that I've been learning. So even while I'm learning to state my boundaries, and just going through the ebbs and flows of, like, my kids are going to have their feelings and emotions when I'm like, hey, you did not listen the past couple of times. I'm sorry, but you get your tablet's a privilege. If you don't listen, I got to take it away. Like, and it's not that I'm taking away necessarily, but your actions and your choices are out of alignment with what you want. I give my kids choices, but we could talk about these things again. If y'all want tips and tricks and things that I've been doing, that I've been helping in radically shifting my parenthood journey, please let me know. They're going to be coming probably anyway, so just stay tuned. And I love you. You're doing the best you can with what you got, and what you got is enough. Stay tuned for more vibes like such, like so. Again, exiting the fun neurodivergent portal. May you sleep well tonight, or vibe into your day with grace, peace, and love, okay? Toodles, my doodles. Oh, also, I have a podcast. It's Chat with a Homie on Spotify. And we'll be having more conversations like this there as well. You're going to get different content because I don't have the capacity to always be like, oh yes, and then I'm going to be able to transport and take the video away from this and just take the audio and put it here. I don't do that. Everything I get is really just divinely led. So if Spirit calls me to make something on whatever one of my platforms, you're going to receive it. So that's what I have. And then I'm going to be opening up readings and things of that nature if you're into that and want to receive in that way. Or if you want one-on-one sessions and all that fun stuff, please just be on the lookout, because I'm going to be formalizing those things and getting them ready, and I'll be able to put those links in the description coming very soon. So take care of yourself. I'll see you soon.